Plain old vanilla pound cake. This simple yet classic and elegant cake has become recognized as a basic foundation for many of our modern confections. Nowadays, many people don't like pound cake because it's too heavy and dense. In this recipe, I'm going to share with you the method and some tips to make a mile-high, light yet moist vanilla pound cake. This classic butter cake will be so fluffy, buttery, and very tasty. Now, let me show you how to make it. Choosing the right pan is very important in making pound cake. It can be baked in a loaf, tube, or bun pan. Rapid heat penetration gives the cake a superior texture, so it is best to use a cake pan made of a highly conductive metal that has a dull, heat-absorbing finish, such as aluminium. If you prefer to use a bun pan, make sure that you choose a thick, non-stick metal pan that is not too dark, since they are sturdy and conduct heat consistently. Nordic Ware cast aluminum bun pan does a great job. Don't use a thin aluminum bun pan like this. It looks pretty, but doesn't conduct heat well. Black metal is also not a good idea, as it absorbs heat quickly and overburns the crust. If you use this type of pan, reduce the oven temperature by 10 degrees Celsius. Make sure the pan is greased and floured. Coat the entire inside of the pan with solid shortening. Shortening is preferable to butter because it is solid at room temperature. It will stick the pan and provides a better barrier. Butter, unless it is clarified, will leave gaps where the flour will not adhere, but the cake unfailingly will. After greasing the pan, sprinkle some flour. Tilt the pan and rotate it, tapping the sides to spread the flour evenly. Invert the pan and tap it lightly to get rid of any excess flour. Make sure every nook and cranny of the pan is greased and floured to ensure a perfect crust. Preheat the oven 20 minutes or longer before you start. Make sure you use an oven thermometer to ensure the temperature is correct. Set an oven rack in the lower third of the oven. We will be using flour batter mixing method to make this cake. This method works only if the batter is softened or 65 degrees to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. At this temperature, the butter when whipped will hold the maximum amount of air. Always use real butter when making pound cake. Using 100% high-quality butter at the correct temperature yields perfect texture in addition to superior flavor. To test, poke it with your finger. Your finger should make an indent without sinking into the butter. The butter should not be shiny or greasy. It will be cool to touch, not warm. Don't take a shortcut and microwave the butter because it will not heat evenly. And make sure all other ingredients are room temperature as well. This includes eggs and milk. I usually take them out of the fridge, allow to sit on the counter for about 30 minutes before I start making the cake. The amount of time depends on the weather and how cool you keep your kitchen. Prepare the flour mixture in advance. Combine 120 grams of flour, both leavening agent and salt. And for the buttermilk, mix room temperature milk and lemon juice or vinegar. Stir in vanilla extract. Let it sit for 5 minutes. Set aside. We will start by creaming the butter for 30 seconds until soft. Add 115 grams of flour. Mix on low speed first until the dry ingredients are moistened. Then raise the speed to medium-high and continue beat for about 3 minutes until light fluffy and pale in color. Scrape the sides and bottom of the bowl occasionally to make sure everything is evenly mixed. This method produces a more tender cake because the butter coats some of the gluten-forming proteins in the flour at the beginning of the mixing process, preventing excessive gluten formation. Set aside. Then in a second bowl, The eggs and sugar are whipped at medium-high speed for about 3 minutes to form a semi-firm foam. The egg whipping is not as true as needed for a sponge cake. Now, using a hand whisk, I will combine the beaten eggs to the cream butter mixture in 3 batches, mixing well after each addition. Then gradually add sifted flour mixture alternately with buttermilk in 3 batches, beginning and ending with the flour mixture. Don't skip this process. By sifting the flour, it will break up any lumps, create a light, delicate, and fluffy results. Stir gently. Make sure that you scrape the entire surface of the bowl so there's no flour residue on the sides and bottom of the bowl. Mix gently until just combine after each addition. Avoid overmixing the batter or your pound cake will be tough. The consistency should be thick like this. Scrape down the sides of the bowl, making sure everything is mixed well. Spoon batter into prepared pan. The batter will fill the loaf pan 1 inch from the top. Using a knife, lightly swirling the batter in spiral motion to flatten the batter and break the large bubbles. Make sure the knife doesn't touch the bottom of the pan. Smooth the surface. Tap the pan to remove excess bubbles. Then I will place a line of cold butter in the center of the batter. By doing this, perfect cracks will appear after baking, resulting in a very neat appearance. Bake in the preheated 160 degrees Celsius fan oven for 1 hour. Never try to speed up the baking process, and do not open the oven door until your cake has baked at least 3/4 of the recommended baking time. The rush of cold air that hits the cake when the door is open could cause the cake to collapse. If you feel your cake is a little too brown, what you can do is after 50 minutes of baking, cover the pan loosely with foil to prevent overbrowning, and continue bake for another 10 minutes until the cake is done. Once it's baked, let the cake cool in the pan for about 10 minutes. The cake should start to shrink from the size of the pan only after removal from the oven. Remove the pan and let it cool completely on a cooling rack. Pound cake is best eaten the day after baking. Once it cools, wrap it tightly in the plastic wrap and let it sit at room temperature overnight. This storage method can maximize the moisture of the pound cake. The cake can be simply stored at room temperature and kept well for about 4 days. Refrigerating the cake is not recommended as it will distort the fresh texture and flavor. A mile-high light crumb and perfectly moist vanilla pound cake. Rich buttery taste with a soft texture and golden crust. This cake is fitting for any occasions, preferably for breakfast, along with a cup of coffee. Eat it plain, frosted or lightly toasted with strawberries and fresh whipped cream. The cake will still be delicious. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this beautiful cake will add to your baking repertoire. Bye everyone!